All right, everyone. It's about 5 past the hour, so we'll get going here. I hope everyone's had a chance to come in and get situated. Hi, my name is Allison, and I have the privilege of taking care of our community at Zapier. And today, I'm really, really excited to be joined by not only one of our friends from Solve, but two. So we've got Raul and Kyle with us here today. How are you guys doing?
Hey Al, Allison.
Doing great, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Good, good. Little housekeeping before we get going here. So, where you're watching the video, if you scroll down just a tad, there's actually a chat box there. And one of my teammates named Andrew is there answering any questions you might have. And I believe Kyle might be the one from these two guys who's going to do the same. So as we're kind of talking through things, please feel free to ask any questions you want. If they're Zapier related, Andrew can tackle them. If they're Solve related, Kyle can tackle them. If they're not related to either of those things, throw them out there anyway. Who knows? Maybe we can get those answered for you too. We'll answer the what's the meaning of life questions for sure. But so that's our little housekeeping. Yeah, if you just scroll down just a little bit, there's that chat room there, and you should be good to go. So with that all being said, thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thank you very much for having us. We're very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited I love talking CRMs because they're so powerful and so useful for so many people, and so it's always good to help people get even more out of them than they already are. With all that being said, I'd love for you guys to maybe give us a little introduction to Solve, what it is that you guys do for those with us today who are maybe not familiar with Solve, maybe looking for a new CRM or something like that. So anything you have to say, now's a chance. Go for it.
Raul, hold your breath. Allow me. Yeah, great. Thanks a lot for that, and thanks again for having us. So what I'll do is I'll just quick description of kind of what Solve is, and then I'll actually jump into a bit of the foundation of kind of what Solve and what CRM really can accomplish. So if anyone is not familiar with Solve, Solve is the CRM that everyone else uses. And what that really means is a lot of CRMs, or most CRMs, are built for high volume traffic, high volume transitions. And then on the other side, a lot of supervision. Ideally here, what Solve is, one of the main foundations is we've recognized the opportunity to really engage and build strong relationships with your clients. So what I'm actually going to do is a quick screen share, and just so that everyone has a bit of an example of Solve. So Solve, we've over the years become Google for Work premier technology partners, and with that, what we're able to do is, sorry about that. What we've been able to do is create certain unique features that enhance the Solve experience, we'll say, with practical and very robust features. So you might be thinking, oh my goodness, we're in an email account. Yes. As a partner, we're just going to go ahead and pop in here. So what we're looking at is an email correspondence from Emily, and I may not have the full context of what exactly is happening. So now that we're in the email, what we're actually do is just open up Emily's record. And now I want to understand exactly what communication has happened between, say, my team or anyone just involved in this process. So as we scroll down, and I'll just do that, we're actually able to see that there was an email that Terry had sent. So I can see that, okay, everything looks great. Now I have the context of the email. And then in one click, what I want to do is just link this email interaction right into Emily's record, so that when Terry signs in, she can just have a look and see, okay, yes, we are making the move on the project. Next, we're just going to slide into the single sign-on. And now you'll see actually Solve in its natural form, we'll say. So we'll just go back to Emily's record, and in that instance of the email, of course, all of these activities or interactions are available on any mobile device. So if you're sitting at a coffee shop, email comes in, boom, all the interactions are there. So now that we're in the system, let's just take a quick second and have a look at what Solve actually looks like. So it is a beautiful database. It is neatly organized, and the goal is to keep everything in context. How we do that is through a few minor, we'll say, classic or major elements of CRM. So here we have category tags that are applied, and you are able to create as many as you need and apply as many as you want. So Emily is easily labeled or being able to be filtered through category tags. Now this can be done through our entire list. The next is a couple of custom fields. If we just pop open the show form, we are able to see a couple of examples of custom fields. So just like any database, you do have your standard fields, of course, and then you have some custom fields. You might think, okay, there's a couple blue things here. How Solve works linearly is there's 3 different types of records. And I won't get into it, but I'll just describe it for your information. So we do have the contacts. So these are the human beings that we're interacting with and the relationships that we're growing. As well as the next one is the companies and then projects. So as you can see here, Emily is related to a few companies. And we also have relations between her CEO as well as some projects that she has on the go. So that's kind of the basis of that area. Everything can be sorted. These category tags, custom fields, and any contact data can be pushed into a Google Sheet report. So in case you did want to build any kind of fancy pipelines or charts such as, you can do that with these categories here. Now for the daily interactions, one of the, I guess one of my favorite parts of Solve is, or really any CRM that I've seen, is the fact that we have everything, all the interactions, notes, shared with our team underneath one simple dashboard. So here we go ahead, we can see emails, follow-ups, our opportunities, and our task lists. What we're able to do if, say, a new prospect or a new client comes on board is really define our perfect set of activities. Mimic that and then put it in a template so that we don't have to do it all the time. What's that called is an activity template. So if we wanted to save this ideal workflow, what we're able to do is create a new template. We're going to call this the ideal. When we create a new record, we're at a trade show, and we're just going to go ahead and add John Smith. Now we want to go ahead and add in that ideal workflow. We can go ahead and insert that workflow. This saves copious amounts of time. As you've noticed, some of the tasks, they're all date sensitive and so on. So all linked emails to John Smith will be there. And yeah, that's, I'll say, the quick overview of Solve.
That's so cool, Kyle. I know that once people, you get in there and you dig around and you're already saving time, you might think, well, but I have so many other apps that I need to connect that Solve data to. So I think that's where we can kind of come in and help a lot of people out. And I know that, Raul, you have a couple of, we got like 2 or 3 sort of use cases that we see people using to bridge their CRM data to, or their Solve data, I guess, to all the other apps that they use. And Zapier works with about 450 plus other apps, and that's growing every day. In fact, we just launched 2 more today alone. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy what people can connect their Solve data to. So, let's just hop right in and talk about a couple of those things.
Right. So, the idea of workflow automation is probably something that you're all familiar with, and that's something that we're huge proponents of as well, as Kyle showed you here in his little spiel on Solve CRM. And you can see how easily you can apply a predefined packaged set of activities as a template onto a new record. So it saves you a ton of time. And the idea there is you set and forget, and that frees you up time to focus on what you actually need or want to do for your business, right? So panning out a little bit and looking at the broader scope here, as Al mentioned, we do have clients who use tools in tandem with Solve CRM, and they could be for anything from invoicing to email campaign managers or even online form builders, and these are all part of the toolkit that they use for the business process. So having them interact with each other to help them streamline the business process is where Zapier comes in. So this is where find folks like Allison here at Zapier come in to help, and they provide many great ways to help automate and integrate these tools so that you have a unique toolkit that works for you and your business. So the integrations that you get from Zapier help your other services talking. So we'll show you how this benefits you, and also maybe we'll show you some examples today. Well, not maybe, for sure are going to be showing you some examples today. So I guess we'll just roll right into the first one here. And the first one here, Google Forms. Forms in general are very straightforward. You can use them for various purposes. The most basic one is obviously to have a contact us form on your web page so that any prospect is able to sign in and enter information like their name, a phone number you can reach them at, or email address, so that you have a lead in your system. And most of our clients use it that way instead of manually entering the information into the database. But there are other use cases as well for forms, and there are two that are pretty interesting in our own client database that our clients use. One of them, she has a gym, and that's her business. She owns a gym, and she uses the forms to actually help members sign up for courses. So the form is there on our website. It has the details as to what the classes are, what times they are offered at, and a member of the gym will go into the form and they will sign up for those classes using those forms. Now, when they submit that form, it goes into the Solve record on the contact page, and now she has the client of ours is able to basically filter out a list of all the attendees before each session, so she knows who is attending the session. And going forward, she's also able to send follow-up reminders and updates on new similar classes that she's going to be offering as the business grows. Another user or a client of ours uses forms as a method for clients to update their own data. So our client's customer simply goes to the form page and enters the information they want to update, and the integration uses the email address as the key to figuring out which record to update in Solve. So now our client has the most up-to-date information on his customers, and he didn't have to do anything there. So going back to the basic use case of getting context from our website into Solve, Allison will be showing you how to do that using Google Forms. Now, we do have a lot of other form builders out there, and we are particularly integrated with Wufoo as well. But the appeal of Google Forms here for some of our clients is that it's free to use. So we'll be taking a look at that, Zap, here. So over to you.
Yeah, let me share my screen here so I can just kind of quickly let everyone see what this looks like. Let me find the web page. Okay, so just like Raul said, Google Forms, probably one of the simplest forms out there to use. It's free. Just about everyone's using some form of Google account, whether it's for your email, for your documents, etc. So you can really easily create these forms in Google. The trick here, as far as using Google Forms with Zapier, is when someone fills out your form, what actually happens with that data is it creates a spreadsheet. So when someone fills out my form and it looks just like this, anytime anyone fills that out, it's actually going to dump a new row into the spreadsheet. And you don't even have to create the spreadsheet. Once you set up the form and you get your first entry, Google will actually create that spreadsheet for you. So that's really, really helpful. You don't have to worry about where's my data going, I don't know. The spreadsheet will automatically be created for you. So when we look at using Google Forms in relation to Zapier, it's a little bit different than if we were using a normal form application, but in theory, it's exactly the same. So instead of looking at a particular app, we're going to be looking at a spreadsheet. So the concept is the same. It's just a little bit different of a trigger. So when we look at it in Zapier, we're looking at two things. When one thing happens, I want to do something else. So Zapier, just think about it as a one-to-one connection between your apps. So when I get data in one, when I get new information in one app, I want to automatically create something in another app. And so that's what this looks like with Solve and with Google Forms. Whenever I have a new spreadsheet row in my Google Sheet, I want to create that contact in Solve. Really, really simple. So when we set this up, this is an individual Zap. This is what we call that one-to-one connection. And this is what that looks like. So we've got our trigger and our action here. When one thing happens, I want to do this. So that's in step 1. Steps 2 and 3 are very simple, connecting your accounts. If you haven't connected them to Zapier already, it will walk you through the process of doing so. It won't take you longer than 30 seconds. Very, very simple. Steps 4 and 5 are where we kind of put this automation together. So here we're saying, I need to know what spreadsheet I want to look at. And what's really cool about using forms, not only does the form create the spreadsheet for you, but it also will give you put responses there in parentheses, which I love because then I know that that spreadsheet is actually for one of my forms. So I know this is the responses to one of my forms that I have set up. So it's the title of the form, and then that response is there. So again, I know this is the spreadsheet that I need to be looking at to pick up those form entries. So I've got the spreadsheet. I've got the worksheet here, which you can grab from the drop-down. Most likely we'll just have one worksheet on that particular spreadsheet. And then you get to have a little bit of fun, or at least I like to think it's a little bit of fun. So what you want to think of here is I want to match up the data coming over from my spreadsheet to that Solve contact. So when I click on Insert Fields here, that's actually going to pull all of the information from my spreadsheet, which in this instance is all of the information from my form, so I can match it up over to a field in Solve. So the easiest example of that is the first name, right? So I look for what's my first name, and that is, again, the information coming over from my form. And then that's going to populate my Solve contact with the first name, the last name, and any of this other information that I want to get here. First name, last name, email address is probably, you know, the absolute minimum of what you'd be looking for here. But if your form contains any of these other fields, what that person does, their address, anything like that, you can automatically connect those together too. So I click on Insert Fields here for any of these I might want to do. And then the final step here I can test. I just want to make sure that that's exactly what is going over to Solve that I want. So that's a poor example there. I was having a little fun with this form yesterday. So I got my first name, my last name, my business email address, and when I send that over to Solve, that's exactly what it's going to create, that new contact with that specific information. So anytime anyone fills out my form, that is automatically going to create that contact for them and Solve. I don't have to sweat it. I don't have to duplicate my work. I can worry about what I need to do, building these relationships, working on my business, and let the automation kind of take care of all of the nitty-gritty. And I know that we mentioned using Google Forms. You can actually see that Google Sheets is actually a part of Google Forms. But we Zapier works with a ton of different form applications. So if you don't want to use Google Forms, if you want to use Gravity Forms or Job Forms, Unbound, whatever that might be, you know, you can, sky's the limit. You can pick anything that you see here. So you don't have to just use a Google form or a Google spreadsheet to do this particular automation. You can choose anything else you see here. And I know another cool thing that we see people doing, Raul, is working with MailChimp and maintaining their email marketing platforms with their CRM data. So I'd love to hear about what you guys see as far as people doing that with Solve.
Oh yeah, most definitely. While campaign managers are, they provide value in helping you stay connected with your client base. So here we have a few use cases that our clients use anyways for using either Mailchimp or Constant Contact, which are both integrated with Solve. Now, both of these services provide you with metrics as to when an email was sent out, if it was received, if it was opened, or how many times it was clicked. These are all valuable information for a user to track the campaign. Now, in Solve, we have a widget that allows you to track this information on the record page itself, so you actually have that information contextually on the record. So you know that when you are dealing with this contact, that you have had previous email campaigns sent out to them and whether they've been receptive to it. Right. Now, there are a few ways to get your list into the campaign manager here. And Solve also provides a simple way to push a one-time list into MailChimp. But Allison also has a Zap to show you if you have a list you want to maintain and use again in the future. And you can just do that by applying a tag to the contact and Solve, and that contact will get added to the mailing list in MailChimp. So I guess Allison can just quickly show them how that works.
Yeah, I think what I really like about this, Raul, is that it's really complementary to what Solve can already do. Like you said, you get that one-time sort of list import, but there's so much of email marketing that is ongoing. There might be times where you have a one-off list, if you're doing an event or if you've got like one specific campaign that's very short. But a lot of times people have many, many ongoing campaigns for
right.
An infinite number of things. So instead of, you can do that one-time sort of import from Solve, but then moving forward, you might want to think about, okay, well, if I'm adding new contacts to Solve all the time, don't I want those to go over to my email marketing platform too, to be added to a specific list or campaign or whatever that might be? So that's where Zapier can kind of complement what Solve can already do. And I won't show the setup. The setup for any Zap that you do is virtually the same. You're just thinking about when this one thing happens, I'm going to do this other thing, and I need to match those fields up so that the right data populates. But where this particular automation differs is in filters. So this is a really interesting way to think about your data. So if I've got, let's say I might be entering a lot of different contacts into Solve, but there might only be certain ones that I want to either send over to my email platform, or there might be certain ones that I want to send to a certain list or campaign or segment or whatever your email marketing platform might call that. So that's where categories from Solve really come into play. And you can use these filters in step 4 of the Zap, like you see here, to make sure that you're getting the right person into the right campaign in your marketing platform. So what you'll want to look for here is in the filter, you want to look for category. So that's the category that you're applying to your Solve contact. So what this is saying is that anytime the text contains influencer, which is one of my tags in Solve, or my categories, I guess I should say, that's what's going to trigger the Zap. So the automation will only trigger when I categorize a specific entry in Solve with a specific category. So that's really, really easy way to say, you know what, I only want certain people going into certain segments or lists or campaigns or whatever that might be. So that's the way I'm going to do that. It's just one extra step you kind of have to add when you're setting up the Zap, but that is going to be, and we see this a lot with people, especially with email marketing, because you have so many different campaigns and lists and segments going, and you don't necessarily want everyone going into your master list. You want to, probably want to segment people into specific lists or campaigns. And I know we looked at MailChimp here, and but Zapier works with a myriad of different, just like Forms, a myriad of different email marketing platforms. So if you use Aweber or Campaign Monitor or ActiveCampaign or other things that that Solve doesn't integrate with, you can more than likely integrate that via Zapier and go through that process that I just showed off. And I know I showed a minute ago when Raul was talking through what the MailChimp looks like. So you've got your specific data here in Solve, and this is like a Solve example. But one thing that you do need to do, and we just learned this the hard way, was once you set this up, and this is over here at the very top in the more, you're going to need your API key for MailChimp. You'll also need that to connect it to Zapier. So if you're connecting MailChimp to Zapier, you might as well connect it at the same time inside your Solve account, and that will give you all of that, all of this sort of data, your opens, your clicks, etc.
Yep, and we actually have a tutorial on that, so it's actually not that hard. It's actually pretty straightforward. We'll just walk you through it, and you'll be set up in no time. And you'll have a beautiful widget like that, so showing you how each of your campaigns are doing with this particular client of yours.
Cool, and I'll make sure that we link to that here in the resources too. So if you come back to this page at any time and you're looking for that to do, we'll make sure that we get that linked. And the final thing I want to touch on here is I think that's something that is really, really important to a whole lot of people, and that is managing your events and the information that comes out of your events. So anytime that you are throwing an event, there's so much data that you're gathering, and compiling that in your CRM is extremely important. So I'd love for Raul to talk through some of the ways that they see people using, over at Solve, see people using their CRMs to help collect and manage data that they're getting from events they're throwing.
Right, so as Allison mentioned, there are a lot of people who use events, and they could be from any industry, and so we have a lot of clients in various industries using events, one of which is the real estate industry. So we have clients who are realtors who set up events pages for open houses, and the registrants are added into Solve as they register for the event. Now the realtor has a list of all the potential buyers that are registered for the open house, so he or she is able to pull this list up on the Solve mobile app that Kyle previously mentioned. So it's on the mobile app while he or she is on site. So now if any of the attendees has a question, he or she is able to pull up the record page and put the details of that question in there. So now at a later point when the realtor is able to follow up on that question, he can just look up the record, have the answer for the potential buyer, and then send an email to that buyer as well, all from the same page. So that's one pretty powerful use case there. The other one is company-hosted events. So you could have a company hosting events internally or externally for the public to event. When the attendee signs up for events using the event service page, they get registered into Solve. And then now the organizer can send reminder emails, a week or a day before the event to let the attendees know more details on the event. And the organizer can also use the Google Doc Merge feature, which we provide, to print out name tags. And you can customize these however you want and merge any number of fields to the name tag. And also, the organizer is able to print out the attendee list so they can also have it handy at the registration desk on the day of the event. So these are some of the use cases here, but you can see that the common pattern is that you get the registrants to go from the event page into Solve. So Allison here has one with Eventbrite, which is a pretty popular service. So we should look at that Zap right about now.
Yeah, so we see Eventbrite is probably one of the more popular event services out there, and there's so much you can do with it. And I think, it kind of falls into the form category too. It's just another way to help you gather information. But, this would be specifically surrounding any type of event you might be throwing. And this also goes for things like we're doing today. So any sort of online event you might be doing, educational or otherwise, there's several other different apps and systems you can use. But the key thing here is, again, you want to focus on what you need to be doing, and that's throwing the event or hosting the event, and not worrying about, well, is my, are all my attendees or my registrants going to make it over into my CRM, because there's so much work to be done afterwards, and you don't want a whole day of that work to be, manually inputting your contacts or your attendees into your CRM, because that is just such a waste of time. So when we connect this through Zapier, we can say, anytime I get a new attendee at one of my events that I'm hosting through Eventbrite, I'm just going to automatically create that contact. And just like the other apps we've looked at, this looks exactly the same. So when I get the new attendee, it's going to create the contact. I just need to know from Eventbrite, which event I need to look at. So I've picked myself as the organizer. It's my Eventbrite account. I know we got really inventive here with the names for sure. I've got my event here. So we're going to be looking at a singular event, which is really helpful, because then you like, this is the one event that I need to be focused on, and I need to get these people into Solve. And just like our forms and our mailing lists, we're going to match up the fields or the information that's coming over from Eventbrite to the fields in Solve, which again are your standard contact information, and that's all stuff that you get from Eventbrite. So when I click on that, I can add their first name, the last name, any of these other bits of information that I'm collecting from them when they register for my event. And it's automatically going to create that in Solve, that record in Solve. I don't have to worry about it. I can run my event, handle all the logistics around my event, and then afterwards do the follow-up that I need to do and not worry about the fact that I need to get these people in my CRM in the first place. And don't think that you just have to use Eventbrite. If you use Meetup or TicketBud, which is another cool ticketing service, or even like GoToWebinar or Meeting or GoToTraining, any of those types of things, there's a lot of different tools that you can connect to Zapier to kind of to get that all set up, and you don't have to worry about any type of event that you're throwing, information that you're gathering, automatically going to create that and solve for you, and you don't have to sweat it at all. So that. And let me get this to where it's not so giant. There we go. That's all that we kind of have today. I wanted to put my contact information up here, and we'll get the guys' contact information too. But this is me. My email address, my Twitter handle, contact@zapier.com is actually the best way to get in touch with us, because that goes to our entire team, and we are really, really close to being on that 24/7. I've got teammates all over the world now. So anything you might need, any questions you might have, feel free to reach out to me, to that contact address, either one, and we'd be more than happy to tackle those questions. And what about you guys? How can folks find y'all?
So it's pretty easy to get to us as well. You can just reach us at customercare@norada.com, and that will come straight to us. And you can also, I believe Kyle also has his own ways to because he's a magical creature, has a magical way to reach him.
Yeah, I'll also add it into the chat for now, but at any time, if you need to reach this handsome fellow, you can hit sales@norada.com. But I will put it in the chat for all the folks hanging out. And so Norada, NORADA.com.
There you go.
The handsome fella.
Well, that's just what my mother told me. So.
Oh, yeah. That's great. So, thanks to everyone for joining us today. This was a lot of fun. Thanks to both of you for kind of taking us through everything. We hope that was helpful for folks. Just for everyone else's reference, this page that you're on now will be around forever. So you can come back anytime. You can watch this again. I know that we have plans to put a couple of other resources on the page, especially like when it comes to connecting MailChimp and other things to your Solve account. We'll make sure that those resources get on this page as well. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of this page, there are some pre-made zaps that are already set up. So all of the zaps that we talked about today, you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and use right this second, probably within a couple of minutes, get you going. We wanted to make that as easy for you as possible. So feel free to come back here anytime. This page will live on in infamy for sure. So thanks, Raul, Kyle, both for joining us today. I'm so glad we got a chance to talk about Solve.
Allison, the big thanks goes to you. We're so happy to work with you.
Thank you so much for having us. I always
Yeah,
tell
we've had.
people that Zapier is like the door to Narnia.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
Solve,
He
and then
does. He
you have
does. I've heard him say that.
all the other apps that are connected to Solve through that one door. So
Through the
that's
one
pretty
door,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, and like I said earlier, that door, I don't know if it gets wider or deeper. I don't know how we're gonna classify that, but we should be, I think, like I said, I think we just crossed the 450 app threshold. I imagine we'll close in on 500 before the summer's over.
Wow.
So, yeah, anything you might need to connect your Solve account to, we can probably take care of that. So,
The
thanks
door
again,
that
guys.
leads
This
to
was,
an abyss.
yeah, yes, yeah.
Well, we'll call it
Thank you.
Wonderland.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, we'll call it Wonderland. Thank you both so much for doing this with me. This was a lot of fun. And like I said, if anyone needs anything, you know where to find us. You can come back to this page at any time. And we'll chat soon. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, Al.